I mean, and you talk about Rob. We talked about it. I think I don't know who to mention it earlier on in the show about trade assets at the deadline, stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know what other teams love is young
Pitching prospects.
prospects.
Yep. And
Love
I say get rid of all of them because the Jays can't develop a pitching prospect because by the time they get to AAA and they're on the brink of
Yep.
scratching our rotation, Tommy John, shoulder surgery.
Yep.
So I'm send them all packing. I don't want any of them here in July if we have a chance at buying and being a heavy buyer. And there's lots of options available to make this team today significantly better because
I actually disagree. Actually, and like, and this is like not par for the course for me because
No.
I've always been on your train. I've always been on the trade prospects train. I've been like get the guarantee. But I think to me, and like maybe it is, I've been sort of the front office the last couple of years has sort of changed my opinion on this. But we're seeing what's going on this year when you're not developing pitching prospects within the pipeline, and that's. Yes, you can go out there and you can outsource. You can sign guys to contracts, and to the Jays' credit, they've done a good job of it, right? Like Kevin Gosman, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, Yusei Kikuchi last year, all guys that pitched very well for them and gave a lot of value. But we're seeing what happens now at the end of these contracts, and that's you're getting good production, but ultimately you just don't have that high upside. You don't have that high upside of an ace. And ultimately, yes, I understand your opinion of going out there and trading guys and making the team better, but I think that there is legitimate value in being able to have a legitimate cost-controlled, high-level stud pitcher. I mean, Alek Manoah, that's the most disappointing part of it was that could you imagine getting Cy Young caliber production like Alek Manoah showed his first couple of years at basically nothing? I mean, that would have been so valuable for this team, and they just haven't had that the last couple of years, and now you're seeing guys who are giving them good value, but ultimately for the dollar figure, it's decent value, but it's not surplus value. And ultimately, that's what's going to help you win big. It's a surplus value. And it's just really unfortunate what's happened to Alek Manoah, to Ricky Tiedemann, even before Nate Pearson. And maybe, who knows, maybe that's your point, is that all this keeps happening. Maybe that's just a problem with them. So maybe you want to get ahead of the curve. I get
exactly that. That's my kind of my point. It's been over half a decade now of every promising pitching prospect that we've had who either made it to the majors or just was on the brink of getting to the majors has gotten injured and has not been able to get back to the level that we once saw them at since. That's been over half a decade now. And like, I don't know whether that's a Bison's problem. I don't know whether that's a training staff problem, because the Major League team has no problem keeping their guys healthy, and those guys are 35 years old, except for obviously Max Scherzer, but he was here for like a cup of coffee. So my point is the Major League team doesn't seem to have an issue keeping pitchers healthy, but it seems like the Buffalo Bisons specifically, and I don't want to call them out. Maybe it's just, this is the generation that we're in right now, because everybody who's a stud pitcher has to go to Tommy John surgery and gets injured all the time. And
look at Jackson Joe, literally the other day.
I know. And I get that. And I also get Rob's point. You look at the Houston Nationals. The whole reason why the Houston Nationals were able to have their dynasty is because they had a rotation full of cost-controlled starters that could win Game 1 and Game 2 and Game 3 of any postseason.
Even right now, Hunter Brown's a Cy Young candidate.
Yeah,
he's a cost-controlled young guy that they got drafted, right?
Yeah.
So
it's more just I don't trust the Jays process.
I just want one guy. I just want one legitimate cost-controlled stud that for here you go, you're going to be a legitimate Cy Young candidate, a legitimate all-star pitcher, and you're going to be playing for free for the next half decade.
All right,
could you
Rob,
imagine one of those guys with a team with a $300 million payroll? Like, what kind of difference that would make? What kind of surplus value you could get?
So you get to pick one then, and we send the rest of them packing.
Oh, it's Trey Savage. Savage.
Yes.
That's not a question. He's obviously the number one asset in this organization right now. He's the closest prospect in the org that is close to the major leagues of guys that legitimately have a chance to be an all-star, right?
Yeah. He's also
Sorry, go ahead.
He's also the closest thing, I think, since Paul Skeens.
Yeah, no,
from a trajectory standpoint and the speed at which he's being promoted and what he's doing in the minors, this is what Paul Skeens did last year.
Yeah. And ultimately, maybe this is my point all along. Maybe it took us a while to get here, but ultimately, I don't want to trade Trey Savage. I don't care what the trade package is. Obviously, no one is untradeable. No one should be untradeable. I understand that, but I'd really like to hold on to him. I'd really like the idea of having a legitimate stud who can contribute next year. Like, if all goes well, he'll be in the majors next year. That can contribute for surplus value. So to me, it would have to really be a really nice package for me to include him in a deal.